Students, good evening to everybody. This is Bujibabu, working as a chemistry lecturer in Vignan Cooperative Junior College, Vadlamudi. In a previous video, I gave information about the preparation of the colloids and properties of the colloids. So in this video also, I am going to explain about some another important properties which are regarding to the colloidal solutions. So look at the next slide. This indicates the contents which are presenting in this video. The contents which are presenting in this video are the first one, electrokinetic potential. So what is meant by electrokinetic potential in case of colloidal solutions? How can we define the potential which is affected between the two layers including the given colloidal solution, that is known as electrokinetic potential. And second one, electrophoresis. So electrophoresis is another important property of given colloidal solution which gives the information about the motion of the colloidal particles. And third one, electroosmosis. So it is another important property of colloidal solution. That means electroosmosis is the reverse of electrophoresis. It also gives the information about the movement of the particles which are present in the given colloidal solution. And next one, coagulation. So coagulation, it means how the colloidal particles undergo precipitate with another electrolyte. The precipitation of the colloidal particles by the addition of small amount of electrolyte or any other substance, such a process is known as coagulation. And next one, coagulation of lyophobic sols. So generally there are main two types of colloidal solutions are there. First one, lyophilic colloidal solution, and second one, lyophobic colloidal solution. Generally, lyophobic colloidal sols are very less stable compared with lyophilic colloidal solutions. Therefore, there are some techniques which are helpful for the coagulation of the lyophobic sol. And finally, protection of colloids. How can we protect the colloids from coagulation when the given colloidal solution is added with another electrolyte? This total information belongs to the production of the colloid. So these are all the main contents which are presenting in the given video. The first property of the colloidal solution is like this, electrokinetic potential. What is meant by electrokinetic potential? So generally, in a given colloidal solution, the particles which are present in the given colloidal solution that consisting of either positively charged particles or negatively charged particles. Positively charged particles or negatively charged particles. Generally, the particles which are present in the given colloidal solution, they contain either positive charged particles or negative charged particles. For example, in a previous session we discussed about when silver nitrate react with potassium iodide. Here we take potassium iodide in excess, here silver iodide formed as a precipitate. This contain negatively charged colloidal particles. This contain negatively charged colloidal particles. When the excess amount of potassium iodide added to the silver nitrate solution, silver iodide is get precipitated, and finally the excess of I- ions are present in the given colloidal solution. Therefore, the colloidal particles having negatively charged particles. In another way, silver nitrate react with potassium iodide in another manner. Silver nitrate react with potassium iodide. Here we take silver nitrate in excess medium, in excess. Here also silver iodide get precipitated. Silver iodide get precipitated. Here Ag plus ions are present in that colloidal solution. That means in that given colloidal solution, Ag plus ions are present. Therefore, the colloidal solution having positively charged particles. Positively charged particles. In both cases, silver nitrate react with potassium iodide and silver nitrate react with the potassium iodide. In both cases, in one case we get negatively charged colloidal particles, and another case we get positively charged particles of the colloidal solution. This factor is mainly depending upon the addition of the extra substance which is added to the silver nitrate solution. In case 1, we take the potassium iodide in excess, that's why the potassium iodide in excess manner, the given colloidal solution contain excess of negative ions. In the second case, silver nitrate we take in excess, that's why the colloidal solution contain more positively charged particles. Therefore, here another important thing is, when the excess amount of positively charged particles or excess amount of negatively charged particles which are added to the silver nitrate solution, finally the colloidal solution contain either a positive charge or negative charge. Therefore, now the positive charge particles or negative charged particles are ready to attract opposite charges of counter ions from dispersion medium. For example, in case 1, in first colloidal solution, here negatively charged particles are present in the given colloidal solution. Therefore, these negatively charged particles of colloidal solution will be attracted towards the positive charged particles of another substance. And second case, here the colloidal solution contain positively charged particles, it readily attract the negatively charged particles from other dispersion medium as a counter ion. That means the charged particles which are present in the given colloidal solution, which are deposited on the surface of the colloids, they are ready to attract the opposite charged particles from dispersion medium as a counter ion. Therefore, finally the charged species which are present on the surface of the colloids, they are ready to attract the opposite charged particles of the counter ions from dispersion medium. Therefore, for a given colloidal particle, the two opposite charges separated as a two separate layers. One is the positive layer and another is the negative layer. If the positive charge species which are present in the colloidal particle which is closely attracted by the negatively charged particles of another medium as a counter ion. Therefore, two layers are surrounded by a given colloidal particle, that is known as a double layer. This is known as the Helmholtz electrical double layer. Helmholtz electrical double layer. So this is the definition of the electrokinetic potential. The potential difference develops between the two opposite charges of the layers which are surrounded by the given colloidal solution is known as the electrokinetic potential. In the two layers, one layer is called as the fixed layer and another layer called as the diffused layer. One is the fixed layer and another one is the diffused layer or mobile layer. Therefore, two layers of opposite charges which are surrounded by a given colloidal particle, the potential difference develops between the two opposite charges of the layers is known as the electrokinetic potential or zeta potential. Another name for that is zeta potential. Electrokinetic potential or zeta potential. So this is the meaning of electrokinetic potential or zeta potential. So what is electrokinetic potential or zeta potential means? Two opposite charges of layers which are surrounded by a colloidal particles, the charge develops between the two opposite charges of layers which are surrounded by a given colloidal particle. the potential difference is known as the electrokinetic potential or zeta potential. Of the colloidal solution is electrophoresis. So what is meant by electrophoresis? So first of all, the movement or migration of colloidal particles towards the opposite charge of the electrodes. So look at the image. Once you look at the image, the colloidal solution taken in a U-shaped tube. So in the image as shown as, we take the colloidal solution in U-shaped tube. Two platinum electrodes are fitted, two arms of the tube, and some electrical field is supplied, electromotive force is applied, then the electric potential is applied, then the movement of the colloidal particles, reaches towards the opposite charges of the electrodes. Therefore, that phenomenon is known as electrophoresis. Movement of colloidal particles, it is defined as electrophoresis means movement of colloidal particles to opposite charge of electrodes. Opposite charge of electrodes. When the colloidal solution taken in a U-shaped tube, then the electric field is applied, the EMF is applied, the charged particles are reaches to the opposite sign of the electrodes. Therefore, finally, we concluded the electrophoresis means the movement of colloidal particles either side of the electrodes when applied to the EMF, that is known as the electrophoresis. So, such type of arrangement is known as the electrophoresis approaches. The colloidal solution taken in a U-shaped tube, fix the two platinum electrodes at two arms of the U-shaped tube, and EMF is applied. The opposite charge colloidal particles are reaches to the opposite charges of the electrodes. Finally, the movement of the colloidal particles under the influence of EMF, it is simply known as electrophoresis. Another important property of colloidal solution is electroosmosis. Simply, electroosmosis is the reverse of electrophoresis. You know that already very well about the electrophoresis. That means movement of colloidal particles under the influence of an EMF, that is known as the electrophoresis. Here, electroosmosis means stopping of colloidal particles. Stopping of colloidal particles or arresting of colloidal particles. Stopping of colloidal particles. Stopping of colloidal particles or arresting of colloidal particles under the influence of EMF. But how the stopping the colloidal particles when we are giving applied EMF? That means in the given previous slide you have to see about the instrumentalization of electrophoresis. In that electrophoresis method, colloidal particles are reaches opposite side charges of the electrodes by applying EMF. Here in that instrument we have to kept some diaphragm fixed, and that diaphragm fixed between the two platinum electrodes, then automatically, even though we are supplying the EMF, the movement of the colloidal particle is simply stopping or arresting. Okay, when we are applying electromotive force, the movement of the colloidal particles does not takes place, because due to stopping of the colloidal particles, we have to kept diaphragm in that instrumentation. That diaphragm prevent the stopping of the colloidal particles under the influence of EMF. Here, in place of particles of a colloidal solution, the dispersion medium which is taken in that colloidal solution, this is moving from opposite charge of the electrodes. That is the main difference between the electrophoresis and electroosmosis. The phenomenon is the same, instrumentalization is same, But in electrophoresis, there is no diaphragm. In case of electroosmosis, we take the diaphragm. The essential of the diaphragm is stopping or arresting of the colloidal particles. But in electroosmosis, in place of colloidal particles, the dispersion medium is moves from opposite side of the opposite charges of the electrodes. That is the difference between the electrophoresis and electroosmosis. Coagulation or precipitation. So what is meant by coagulation or precipitation? It is simply the charge present on the colloidal particle is neutralized by another substance or electrolyte, that is known as coagulation or precipitation. Generally, the colloidal particles having either positive charge or negative charge on their surface. If you are taking any colloidal solution, every colloidal solution contain positively charged species or negatively charged species. When the colloidal solution is added to a small amount of electrolyte, the opposite charges get neutralized and they coming down as a precipitate. The colloidal particles are aggregate and coming down as a precipitate. This process is known as coagulation or flocculation or precipitation. Three names are there for this process: coagulation, precipitation or flocculation. Okay, so how the precipitation of colloidal particles takes place? For example, if you are taking colloidal solution, we are adding another electrolyte like aqueous sodium chloride. This consisting of Na plus ions and Cl minus ions. Na plus ions and Cl minus ions. When the electrolyte is added to the colloidal solution, in case if the colloidal solution contain positively charged particles in it, the positive charge of the colloidal particles get neutralized with the negative charge of the species which are presenting in the electrolyte. In another way, if the given colloidal solution contain negatively charged particles, in that negatively charged colloidal particles get neutralized with positively charged species of the electrolyte. Therefore, when electrolyte is added to the colloidal solution, the charge presenting on the colloidal particles get neutralized with the opposite charged species which are presenting in the electrolyte. Finally, the colloidal particles undergo aggregation and they coming down as a precipitate. This process is known as coagulation or flocculation or precipitation. Here, another important thing is how much amount of electrolyte should be added to the colloidal solution for coagulation process or precipitation process. For example, that is known as the coagulating value or flocculating value. So what is that? Coagulating value. So what is coagulating value or flocculating value? The concentration of the electrolyte which is added to the colloidal solution taken in millimoles. Here the volume of the colloidal solution we have to take in 1 liter. We take 1 liter volume of colloidal sol. We take the 1 liter volume of colloidal sol. To the 1 liter volume of colloidal solution, we have to add it the concentration of the electrolyte in millimoles. We have to use how many millimoles of electrolyte should be added to the colloidal solution. That value belongs to the coagulating value of that electrolyte or flocculating value of that electrolyte. This is the definition for the coagulating value. If the coagulating value of electrolyte is very less, its flocculating power is more. It is another important point. the coagulating value of electrolyte is very less. The coagulating value of electrolyte is very less, therefore its coagulating power is more. Its coagulation power or flocculation power is more. So this is known about the what is coagulation or flocculation or precipitation, and what is coagulating value. When electrolyte is added to the given colloidal solution, the opposite charges undergo neutralization. The total colloidal solution coming down as a precipitate, simply it is known as coagulation or flocculation. So what is the coagulating value or flocculating value? When to the given 1 liter volume of colloidal solution, we have to add it the concentration of the electrolyte taken as in millimoles. How many millimoles of electrolyte should be added to the colloidal solution for the coagulation process? That is known as the coagulating value or flocculating value. Hardy-Suzuki rule. What is meant by Hardy-Suzuki rule? You know very well about the coagulation process of colloidal solution, and what is the coagulating value or flocculating value. In that coagulation process, simply we are adding an electrolyte to the given colloidal solution. The opposite charges get neutralized. The colloidal particles coming down as a precipitate. Such process is known as coagulation. For the coagulation of the given colloidal solution, we are adding opposite charged species of electrolytes to the given colloidal solution. So basing on the charges which are presenting the species of electrolyte, Hardy and Suzuki, scientist names Hardy and Suzuki proposed that rule, that is known as the Hardy-Suzuki rule. For example, for the given colloidal solution is negatively charged colloidal solution. For example, arsenous sulfide. Arsenous sulfide is a negatively charged colloidal solution. Arsenous sulfide is negatively charged colloidal solution. For the coagulation process of the arsenous sulfide colloidal solution, we are adding positively charged species of electrolytes in the order of like Al plus 3 greater than Ba plus 2 greater than Na plus 1. So these are the positive charged species of electrolyte which are added to the negatively charged of the colloidal solution. Therefore, here in the negatively charged particles are presenting in the colloidal solution. Therefore, we are adding positively charged species of electrolyte. That means Na plus 1, Ba plus 2, Al plus 3. It's enough. But here another important thing is, here Na plus 1 is a positive charged species, Ba plus 2 is a positive charged species, Al plus 3 is a positive charged species. But in the order of their charges, Al plus 3 greater than Ba plus 2 greater than Na plus 1. That means the species which are having carrying a higher charge, either it is a positive charge or negative charge, when added to the given colloidal solution, that have more flocculating value, that having more flocculating, that is more flocculating value, that is more flocculating value. In case of if we are taking positively charged colloidal solution, that like ferric hydroxide, FeOH thrice, this consisting of positively charged particles. For the coagulation purpose of the ferric hydroxide solution, we are adding negatively charged species of electrolyte in the order of FeCN6 minus 4 greater than phosphate PO4 minus 3, next sulfate SO4 minus 2, and finally Cl minus. These are the negatively charged species. Here the charge consisting of minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1. For the coagulation of the positively charged of colloidal solution, we are adding negatively charged electrolyte species to that given colloidal solution in the order of. Here also at the same manner applicable to the positively charged species. Here also negatively charged particles also added to the given colloidal solution. Here -4, bigger one -3, and next -2, and next -1. Therefore, Hardy and Suzuki concluded that for the coagulation of the given colloidal solution, if you are adding either positively charged species or negatively charged species, which species having higher charge, either it is a positive or negative, it is more coagulating value in the order of like this. In case of positive charge, in case of negative charge. Simply this is known as Hardy-Suzuki rule. Okay, I simply concluded what is meant by Hardy-Suzuki rule. For the coagulation of given colloidal solution, we are adding either a positive charged species or a negative charged species in high priority. The species which is having higher charge, it will be more coagulating value. Coagulation of lyophobic colloidal solutions. So generally colloids are classified into two categories. You know very well about that. Lyophilic sols and lyophobic sols. Lyophobic sols are very less stable compared with lyophilic sols, but here the following methods which are useful to for the coagulation of the less stable lyophobic sols. That is our concept, coagulation of lyophobic colloidal solutions. The first one, by boiling process. By boiling process. When we are boiling the less stable lyophobic colloidal solution, then the layers presenting around the layers which are present around the colloidal particles will be separated. Therefore, the colloidal particles and aggregation able to form precipitate, that is known as the coagulation of lyophobic sols. And second one, electrophoresis method. And second one, by electrophoresis. You know very well, already we discussed a few minutes back about electrophoresis. Electrophoresis means opposite charge colloidal particles, moment of colloidal particles reaches opposite charges of the electrodes, that is known as the electrophoresis process. By using electrophoresis process, we have to coagulate the less stable lyophobic solutions. And next one, by prolonged dialysis. By prolonged dialysis, you know about dialysis. For the purification of colloids, we have to be use a dialysis method. The dialysis means removal of dissolved impurities to a requisite minimum level, that is known as a dialysis process. By prolonged dialysis means when the dialysis process is continuous, therefore the particles which are present in the given colloidal solution, the particles will be removed. Therefore, that means the charged particles will be removed. Automatically, the charges which are presenting on the given colloidal solution, or there is a attraction takes place, finally they can be precipitated, that is known as the by prolonged dialysis method. And next one, by the addition of electrolyte. By the addition of electrolyte. For the given lyophobic colloidal solution, we are adding an electrolyte. The charge presenting on the species of the electrolyte will be coagulated with the charge present on the species of the colloidal particles. That means opposite charges get neutralized, they coming down as a precipitate, that is known as the addition of electrolyte. And finally, by mixing two oppositely charged sols. By mixing two oppositely charged sols, that means, for example, arsenic sulfide is the negatively charged colloidal solution. Ferric hydroxide is positively charged colloidal solution. By mixing opposite charged sols, they undergo also coagulation. They coming down as a precipitate and get neutralization. So this coagulation is also known as the mutual coagulation. Mutual coagulation means oppositely charges of colloidal solutions aggregated to each other, and the neutralization takes place. They coming down as a precipitate. Such type of coagulation is known as mutual coagulation. Okay, these are all methods which are useful for the coagulation of less stable lyophobic colloidal solutions. Coagulation of lyophilic sols. Generally, lyophilic soils are more stable. Lyophilic soils are more stable compared with the lyophobic soils. But due to the greater stability of the lyophilic soils, how the coagulation is involved in the process of more stable lyophilic soils means there are two possibilities are there. First one, adding an electrolyte, or addition of some of the solvents, like alcohol and ether, So when we are adding the electrolyte, here also opposite charges get neutralized, they coming down as a precipitate, then the lyophilic soils are get coagulated, and finally we are adding some solvents like alcohol and ether, therefore hydration takes place. Then also the more stable lyophilic soils are ready to participate in the coagulation process. Therefore, even in the case of the more stable lyophilic soils also undergo coagulation in these two ways. First one, by addition of the electrolyte, and second one, solvents by the addition of like alcohol and ether solvents by hydration process. And next one, production of colloids. How can we protect the colloids from coagulation? It means, for example, in case of less stable colloidal solution is lyophobic soil. You know that very well. Lyophobic soil is very less stable. Lyophobic soil is very less stable. When we are adding an electrolyte, to the less stable colloidal solution, that is lyophobic, then neutralization of the opposite charge particles undergo neutralization and they get be precipitated, that is known as coagulation, you know very well. But here our motto is, our target is to stop the coagulation between the less stable colloidal solution when addition of the electrolyte. Here we are adding another extra substance. To the less stable colloidal solution like lyophilic. Here lyophilic is more stable. When more stable colloidal solution is added to the less stable colloidal solution, it able to form a separate layer around the less stable colloidal solution to protect that colloidal from coagulation process by the addition of an electrolyte. This is known as the protective colloid. So this is the way to the stopping of the coagulation process by the addition of an electrolyte. To stop the coagulation between the less stable colloidal solution and electrolyte, we are adding another extra stable colloidal solution. This extra stable colloidal solution form a layer around the least stable colloidal solution, and then it stop the coagulation between the least stable colloidal solution and electrolyte. So this is known as the protective colloid. Gold number. What is meant by gold number? The protectiveness of the given colloid can be measured in the units of gold number. Gold number is the unit of protectiveness of the given colloidal solution. You know that very well. What is protective colloid? The capacity of protective colloid can be measured in the units of gold number, that is given by the scientist Zsigmondy. The scientist name who proposed this definition, gold number, by Zsigmondy. Zsigmondy give the definition for gold number like this. If you are taking 10 ml gold solution, 10 ml gold solution, here to the gold solution we are adding 1 ml 10% sodium chloride solution. This is an electrolyte. When 1 ml 10% sodium chloride solution is added to the 10 ml gold solution, this is the gold solution is a colloidal solution, very less stable. Here sodium chloride is a electrolyte. To stopping the coagulation between the gold solution and sodium chloride, we are adding another extra substance. That substance mass is we can take in the milligrams. So how many millimoles? How many millimoles of substance that is added to the gold solution, that is known as the gold number. So this is the exact definition of the gold number. To stop the coagulation between the gold solution and sodium chloride solution, how much amount of extra substance, that is protective colloid, added in millimoles, that is known as the gold number. For example, gold number of gelatin. Gold number of gelatin is 0.05 to 0.07. Gold number of hemoglobin. Gold number of hemoglobin is 0.03. Gold number of gum arabic. Gold number of gum arabic is 0.15 to 0.25. Gold number of potato starch is equal to 25. Potato starch is equal to 25. So this is about the gold number. So finally, we recall what we learned in this video are some properties of the colloids like electrokinetic potential or zeta potential, electrophoresis and electroosmosis, and what are the protective colloids, how can we calculate the protectiveness of the given colloid by gold number proposed by the scientist Zsigmondy. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all.